What is good? We're back. Week 1 is in the books. Well, just about. Monday night game playing right now as we record this. We got some moves to make after week 1. Well, probably not really. The move to make is let's just relax for a second, you know?
Hey, that was the same move to make last year after week 1.
Yeah, week 1's pretty much going to be the same show from us every year. You know, a lot of overreaction, but, you know, we're going to look at some usages, especially for some running backfields that we were kind of confused on coming in. So we'll see if we can get some clarity or we still have some confusion there. But really, week 1's almost always the same. The big guys never really come out and do exactly what you want them to do. And then everybody's looking around of what's going on here, what's wrong with it. It's like it's week 1. It's basically the preseason here, guys. You know, we just need to. There's not a whole lot of moves to make. If somebody's really worried about somebody that we know is good, pounce on the value, right? Other than that, you probably just need to relax and chill. Bigco, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Most likely, there's maybe a buy low to be had in your league, and that's probably about it. You know, if you can find somebody for any reason that's going to give you a little discount on Brian Thomas Jr., pounce. If you can find somebody that's going to give you a little discount on Nico Collins, pounce. Right. But you're not gonna go too crazy. There's a couple of rookies here that we can mention that made you feel good. But outside of that, just kind of let's go to week 2 and see what's happening.
Yeah, we were going to hop in here and talk about a bunch of the rookies, but I think we're going to kind of steer clear of most of that. I'm sure we'll get to some of them when we talk about the running backfields, but just to kind of kick this off and kind of whip around the league a little bit of some usage that we liked and some good stuff that we saw, maybe applying some context of things that we didn't like real quick. I mean, obviously Egbuka, the big rookie, coming in and just scoring a bunch of fantasy points. It was Mike Evans pretty heavy, and then Egbuka got involved, and then Egbuka got involved again. Sure. And as advertised, you know, the if this was a thermometer, the mercury is flowing out of that thing right now, right? I mean,
yeah,
so
no doubt.
but I'm not interested in selling high. I'm not interested in. I'm sitting here. I'm chilling. I'm counting my money. This guy was a professional coming in, and all it did was convert right into fantasy points. And
yeah, I like that.
He's got good capital. He's got a good quarterback. He's got a system that they're comfortable with, and you know, so great game from Egbuka yesterday. So be excited about it.
Right. The main key phrase there was you're not selling high on Egbuka. There's like, I mean, if you turn him into, you know, Justin Jefferson, I get it. That's a nice
turn him into Nico Collins.
That's a nice fair swap.
Yeah.
Right. You know, but like you can't sell high on Egbuka. Like he just came out and crushed. And that was a game that ended up needing some fourth quarter points. Right. And so like not a lot of we talked about that on the football show that we did this morning, the first ever football show. I thought that was awesome. Great show. Had a lot of fun. Like the Bucs and the Falcons it was a great fourth quarter. There was points to be had and Egbuka got him and he crushed it. And that your early draft, you know, rookie drafts where Egbuka was your 110, 111, 112 pick, you're fantastic. Your opportunity cost that was just amazing value there. In your late rookie drafts, like you said, if it was a thermometer, that was a great call. The last 2 months of Egbuka hype has just been off the charts. And then week 1, he didn't, like I said, if they didn't need those points, maybe he doesn't get that second touchdown, but it was not luck. It wasn't fluky. It was really, really solid football play by a rookie. And he's going to be great. And he showed us everything we could have ever asked for from him. And that's just, you know, dynasty stock up, redraft stock up, Egbuka, right? But like dynasty wise, you can't get Egbuka off my team right now.
Yeah. And, you know, again, it's important to imply some context. The Bucs needed to be going for points at the end of the game. Matthew Golden was somebody that was consistently debated with Egbuka, especially to start the year. Egbuka ripped off the knob down the straightaway there, but Golden started catching up. And look, Golden was in a complete different situation coming in to the end of that game. Right, they were in neutral, just riding it out. The Packers had put the Bears, or rather the Lions, into submission, right, and so they didn't really need to do that. And we knew kind of that the Packers were going to spread it out. And that's exactly what they did. Love looked really good. Golden popped up on the injury report now, but there's no reason to panic for Golden. Just contextualized of that they didn't need to be going for the gusto. They didn't need to be going for a bunch of points late in that game. They weren't chasing anything.
Yeah, that's another well said. Like they literally tapped out my Lions. Like they choked them out in the first round. It was an ugly, quick fight, and picture that was posted in our group chat, I maybe even made it into the Discord, but like the first 8 completions for Jordan Love went to somebody else. It was 8 different receivers with 1 catch a piece, right? So they spread it around, and it was surgical. They crushed my Lions. It was heartbreaking. It was terrible, and the Packers looked good doing it. We talked about it this preseason, all off season long. Jordan Love was going to be a cheap, nice quarterback to have, and he went out there and crushed it. But they didn't need second half points. They didn't have second half anything. They just kind of rode it out. The Lions wasn't even as close as the score looked. That Tesla touchdown came at the end, and it was nothing, right? It was a fantastic catch, and it was awesome, and I love to see it, but it meant nothing for the game, right? So the Packers killed them. Is basically, the Lions scored 6 points and got a touchdown at the end in garbage time, right? So that's the Packers needed nothing from Golden down to stretch. Yes, I would definitely double down on our target share for the Packers. That's all it is, right? That Love has options, and Golden's not going to get 10 targets a game.
Yeah. Yeah. Some cheaper guys that played well and got you that maybe you had some question marks about, or Cedrick Tillman came in, had a nice game. Deebo Samuel resurrected, not looking like he's winded out there, not fat. Kayshon Boutte, another favorite of the show, just been on fire with May since the end of last season, right? These are all guys you should be excited about right now to be on your roster that you got for cheap, right? All those guys. I'm not rushing out to sell any one of them per se, right? I'm not dying to get rid of any of those guys.
Obviously, the name there would stand out. I mean, if you had a resurrection from Deebo and in your dynasty team, if you suck,
sure,
right?
Sure.
If Deebo's not going to do anything but make you get a worse draft pick this year because he looked good, he looked like somebody that didn't have to come back from being in the hospital and being sick and all that. He looked like somebody that didn't have what was
pneumonia,
like bronchitis or something like worse than that. He was in the hospital.
He had pneumonia or something.
Pneumonia. That's what I was trying to see. So that he looked skinny, looked solid. He looked like a team that had their best wide receiver holding out all training camp.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like a team that didn't have Scary Terry to do any practicing with until last week, and they had been planning for this game with Deebo. Yeah. And I assume he'll have plenty of usage next week, but I would have no problem selling high on Deebo in Dynasty. If you're a contender, sure, ride it out. The usage was off the charts, and you're not going to just turn that off. He looked like young Deebo, so why not? The Redskins are all in. They want to win every game, they got a Super Bowl aspirations. Ride out Deebo if you want to. If you got a really, really high end contending team, but if you need to sell, that's one I would sell right there. I'd take.
That's a good catch. I mean, if you can get out of Deebo, you should get out of Deebo there. Hollywood Brown obviously going to get have a nice little run here. We'll see how long Worthy was out. I don't think that'll be the exact game plan with Hollywood Brown week in, week out. They just had to scramble around.
You're not going to expect him to get 10, 12 targets, but it's lined up perfectly for him. And if, like I said, if Worthy's out for a couple of weeks, you can definitely just plug in Hollywood Brown to get catches.
Yeah. I more so meant just kind of the way they were using. He might get a bunch of targets, but I don't think he'll step right into like they just went right back to how they were going to maybe use those other two guys and kind of putting him in those situations. That's not really what you want to. And there's a lot of people citing the separation scores and all. Like, dude, everything he was doing was 5 yards around the line of scrimmage. I don't care about the separation score at that point. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, if he's going to get pumped targets, we're good, right? And that wasn't my what my assumption with how Hollywood would be used. I don't think that's how they wanted to use him, but he's their best guy now, next man up, right? He's interesting. You can plug him in. Quentin Johnston was somebody who had a nice little resurgence here.
If you're looking for more FFD, sign up for a Patreon or YouTube membership and get access to the ADP, Dynasty rankings, the rookie draft kit, and extra shows every week.
Is Quentin Johnston somebody who's going to be consistently awesome week in, week out? No. But let me tell you, if Quentin Johnston can catch the football, he's going to turn into a flex-worthy starter, man. Like, I mean, we've seen it was all there. He just drops balls, man. And he's a big, fast guy, and he's hard to deal with. And they were using him how that I think it would be intended. Ladd and Keenan can do the technician work, and he can just go across the field, run down the field, do different things.
And what did we see out of Herbert? Top 3 talented arm in the league, and pushing it and fearless. And you know what he played? The way Herbert played that game was to beat the Chiefs. That's
absolutely.
Herbert played that game like he wanted to beat the best team in football for the last 6-7 years, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. This episode's presented by Profit X. Looks and feels like a sports book, but with way better odds. Use promo code FFD. Go download it now. It's a peer-to-peer book, so you get better odds in that situation. We're going to show you an example here down the line. Just wanted to throw our new sponsor, Profit X, some love. We've been loving the app, so make sure you go down that use promo code FFD. All right, let's jump in. We kind of mentioned it off the rip. We just wanted to kind of whip around some receivers there, since they're not going to get a whole lot of love the rest of the episode here. Kind of clarity or confusion, right, is kind of where we want to go here with this backfield situation. Now, the first one on the docket, everyone just got the sleeper update. It was Jags backfield, right? Because we had a lot of questions on that. And we're going to run through Jags backfield, Jets backfield, Giants backfield, Commanders backfield, just kind of look at their usages, their snap percentages, kind of how those guys are being deployed. And again, we can get real in the weeds with all this stuff, but by week 4, we could throw a lot of this stuff out the window. So good to look at, good to monitor, and then good to lay your eyeballs on to see if all that stuff's matching up and makes sense. And is there context? Why was this happening? Is there reasons? Or is this just how they're going to deploy it and what they're going to do because he's their best guy and they feel the best with him? So take all that stuff into consideration here. We'll try to do a little bit of that. We're going to run through some backfields here. Obviously, Tank Bigsby just got traded to the Eagles, just making moves out there. So that certainly opens things up. But what we saw from week 1 from Jacksonville was the ET show. There wasn't much confusion there. It's pretty clear. Now, is Tootin going to get some more love? Seems that way. Has he got some explosion to his game? Absolutely. LaQuinn Allen definitely had more usage than I pictured week 1. It was also a weird game, right?
Yeah.
Long weather delay. And then, they kind of got up and it was a little bit weird, but ET 66.7% of the snap share, 50% of the attempt percentage, 9.7% target share, and 45.5% route participation, essentially. So really just blows everybody out of the water. For reference, Tank would have been the next guy there. He had 14.3 snap percentage, 15.6% in attempt percentage, and 9.1 in route participation, right? So not really close.
Smothers them.
Right.
Smothers them. And now, like you said, you get the clarification with Tank Bigsby gone. They're just going to lean on ET, and they got LaQuinn Allen and Tootin right there, just ready to step up. And I like low key. I like it for the Eagles to pick up. I assume I haven't seen what they paid, but I assume it's pretty cheap. I don't think they gave up. I would assume they don't give up a bunch. And you got the Super Bowl champs, the returning Super Bowl champs, doing what they do best, which is picking up some talent for cheap and adding behind Saquon, which is your lifeblood of your offense. And I really like the 3-down skill set of Shipley. But if Saquon went down, they'd be in a hurry and then in a pickle, and you see him pick up somebody off the waivers anyway, or off the streets. So you'd see him add somebody. So when you got a team like the Jags who are looking to part ways with this guy because they're going in there, maybe their schemes going this direction, or they got the 2 rookies that they want to bring in. Etienne's like very, very talented, like a better running back than Bigsby overall. And you can say what you want to say about last year. Bigsby did look better than ET between the tackles last year. Maybe Etienne was hurt, right? I mean, this is football. Everybody's hurt. So I like it as a pickup for the Eagles for cheap. Good. I mean, just fantastic roster management again.
Some good depth. Now, LaQuinn Allen would be the guy who has to be rostered if he's available in your leagues. Should have been rostered before this, but got to pick him up. He had already with Tank Bigsby even there. Had an 18.2% route percentage, right? So that was the highest next on the team over everybody else, even with Tank there. So that's noticeable. Again, weird game. They were up big. But, that's kind of what we liked LaQuinn to do. He's a great receiver. 6 foot, over 200 pounds, was kind of a, slot, can go out there and catch some balls for you. He's an excellent receiver. Next to Woody Marks, he was my favorite pass catcher in this draft. So he's got to be, popping up on any team that he's available to get him in and throw him on the bottom of that roster. And then, Tootin certainly gets interesting, but ET seemingly a big winner here. I mean, you're fairly confident in starting. And again, Carolina was not great in this game. ET ET, 143 yards though. I mean,
yeah, I think he got 70 on one play, but that's all you ask him to do. Go out there and get yards and play well, and he did that.
Yeah, still would have had 70 more without,
sure.
If you take that away, and obviously
I'm not, dude got a 70-yard run. I'm not taking that away, right? Just 140, 70 on a play. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so you start an ET with confidence next week, right?
Not a lot of guys in the league are running for 70 yards in a play.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you start an ET with confidence, and does this move make you want to move ET at all?
Starting with confidence for sure. And I mean, I guess that's a roster to roster kind of question,
sure.
Depending on what I got going on. You're always looking for nice windows. I think ET was probably too far down into public perception. Every league is different, and you might have a ET Clemson. You might have a Clemson guy in your league. You might have a Jags guy in your league. You might have a Cohen guy in your league. I don't know. You might have a guy starving for running backs, and ET could be your fourth or fifth. There's a lot of different factors that play and whether or not you're making a trade or you're selling ET at this moment. It's not impossible. I might not be itching to do it, but it is Carolina, and they might, you might not have 140 rushing yards every single week to lean on.
I mean, you're probably not going to, but
right. So I'm not saying selling for sure, but I wouldn't be completely against it if it all added up. What I started to say there before I started listening to factors is public perception on ET was so far down. One game might not boost him up to get you that value that you need to have to sell. But if you do get the value that you need to have to sell, I'm not against it.
Yeah. And, we do know how quickly people's opinion will change, though. Somebody might have hated ET, and now Tank Bixby's out of there, and it's like, well, ET was good last week, so back in. So and all we just got to get some more talking heads behind the ET train.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of guys will probably staunchly just go to the Tootin train and say, "Oh, wheels up, Tootin," right?
Yeah,
that's how the haters kind of go. It's it's certainly not going to be ET for the whole year, and maybe Tootin will come in here and be awesome, but maybe LaQuinn Allen just comes in here and scoops up some pass catching, and him and Tootin kind of split the rest. So certainly going to be a situation to monitor. I thought the Jaguars looked fine yesterday. Wasn't anything awesome, but they didn't need to be awesome per se. So I'm excited.
Those 4:00 started, and the game, that Panthers Jags game being delayed, they came back, and there was a big gap in the score, and there's 3 or 4 other awesome games on TV. Really got to go back and check out how that game played out.
Yeah.
Other than the bits and pieces I saw, Ted McMillan looking awesome.
But some promising numbers there for ET. So gives me a little bit of clarity, but now, you did add a little bit of confusion now because you took Tank Bigsby out of the mix, and now you got these other two guys with LaQuinn Allen and Tootin now that it gets a little muddy on who gets second run and how those things are going to be deployed. But some clarity on ET. Would you say?
Yeah, we sped up that process for sure. They're right. Like, hey, we don't need 4 guys.
Right. So we had mentioned Profit X. It's our new sponsor. We're excited about it. They're America's #1 sports prediction market. It's peer-to-peer sports prediction market where users play against each other instead of the sports book versus the house. You'll almost always get the best price on any spread, money line, or total player prop since you're playing against other people rather than the book. You can use code FFD to claim up to $200 in profit casts on your first 30 days on playing on this site. Terms and conditions apply, obviously. Something we like early in this next one on the little call to action here. We just kind of talked about how good Herbert was to beat the Chiefs. Coming in here, we got the Chargers versus Vegas. Chargers up, getting -3.5 here versus the Las Vegas Raiders here. It is in Vegas, and obviously coming on a long flight back from Sao Paulo or wherever the hell they were in Brazil. But they do get the Monday night game, so a little extra rest, right?
Yeah, I might not be laying that 3.5 after coming back from Brazil. And the big, your whole offseason was, hey, let's go beat the Chiefs, the best team in the league. Let's go beat these guys. So I might want to sit that. But the beauty of this thing, you could just go straight to the Raiders plus 3.5 if you'd like the home dogs there. But you can also move that juice around and say, hey, how much juice I got to get the Raiders, or you say, hey, I don't want to give up the hook. I Chargers -3, right? So just being able to move that around on this site, being peer-to-peer is a little bit less juice that you're paying. So that if you're basically increases your odds of profitability, of course, you got to win a bet to be profitable. Anybody can lose. That's the easy part. All restrictions apply, of course. But check it out. It's an easy website. It's a lot there. It's a lot to digest. But if you just go straight to it and click NFL and click the team, it'll take you straight to that game. And that's when you can start looking at receptions or rushing yards or just straight up you could just money line or spread to cover the game. And then that's when you can start customizing and saying, well, I don't like them at -3.5. I want to get them -2.5 or this or that. Even though buying points usually doesn't pay off, you just try to stay away from those hooks.
Yeah, you can kind of create whatever you want on this website, and if somebody else wants to take it, they can certainly take it. That's the fun part about peer-to-peer. And as the week goes, more and more options will pop up, right? Because more and more people will be getting excited. The lines for props and stuff aren't quite up on there yet, but we'll certainly be talking about those. We got a Friday gambling show coming your way from Joseph from Quality Stats and Chev. So that'll be coming at you every week, powered by Profit X, of course. But yeah. So, man, a lot of good games this week, a lot of fun. And let's get back to some clarity and confusion here. I think good clarity on ET. Jets backfield. I think we got some more clarity, right?
I always had it.
I mean, if you've been messing with this show, I'm sure there's plenty of comments that say that we were idiots. And maybe week 2, we will be idiots. Again, nothing is written in stone at this point. It is week 1 usage. Could be a lot of reasons why. But in this particular case, we knew the Jets were going to come out and run the ball. That's what they want to do. That's who they want to be. And when Justin Fields is on like he was on yesterday, they're going to be a tough team to deal with. For them to come out and put one of the highest scores up was certainly not something that I think anybody was expecting between those two teams. And then Brees looking just the best. I think the thing with Brees, obviously getting fed is awesome, but how quick and fast he looked. He just looked back to form, and that's the guy that we expected. And it looked night and day with him and the other running backs on the field, and it looked so different when he was touching the ball versus the other guys. Now Fields is a whole different animal when he's got the ball in his hand, so he's like their RB2 essentially. But we got some good stuff out of there. We got 19 attempts with Brees. We had 58.1 snap share percentage, 48.7 attempt percentage, 28% route participation, and 9.1 target percentage. And in comparison to Braylon Allen, 6 attempts, 30.6% snap percentage, 5.4 attempt percentage, 0 targets, and then he was out there on 12% of the routes, right? So quite a big gap there between those guys, right? And would you see a big change coming for any specific reason, unless they get up bigger and can run it more? That I think that's the way Allen gets more attempts. Now, Allen did get the TD run, so that was, vultured you a little bit. But Fields is gonna be, a little tenuous of who gets the rushing touchdown when it's from the one.
That too, good point on that. I mean, it was a good run from Allen for the touchdown. I mean, it wasn't like a goal line carry. I mean, he was 6-7 yards out, right? So it's not like Brees Hall carried him all the way down there, and they were like, "All right, Braylon Allen, you come in on the goal line." It was like Brees Hall helped carry him all the way down there, and they were on the 7 or 8, and it was just Brees, hey, get a breather. That's why every team, almost every team outside of the Niners and the Eagles, actually give their running backs breaks, right? But you could see it. Almost 19 carries for Brees Hall, 6 for Braylon Allen, and Brees was cooking. And Brees looked healthy, and he looked like he didn't have a quarterback that the defense knew what was coming. He looked like he didn't have a 40-year-old quarterback coming off of a ruptured Achilles. That's what Brees Hall looked like. He looked like he didn't have a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers back there, and the defense was like, hey, let's just load up on the run and we know this quarterback is struggling right now, and he's not healthy, And it looked like he had Justin Fields back there that the defense had to respect whether he's going to pull that ball out of his gut. And so there was a lot of factors at play there, and Brees Hall looked good, and he dominated Braylon Allen. And it was the 50-50 split guys, and actually Braylon Allen's better guy. Brees Hall's a stud. We literally did a video about that last week. We did a video about that last month, 3 months ago. Brees Hall, this time last year, Brees Hall was a dynasty darling. He was a 1-2 dynasty startup turn pick. He was a 2-2, 112, pick in a dynasty startup. And it didn't go right for the Jets at all last year. And Brees Hall was a back end RB2. And now he just, he's a goal line carry, a touchdown away from scoring 20 something fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
He already had 15, right? He got a couple catches. He broke one. He got 30 yards passing, 38 yards receiving, 100 yards on the ground against the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
So in week 1, where the Jets were supposedly dog shit offensively, and it was supposed to be horrible, and they come out and look fantastic. And yes, they lost the game. They should have won. They could have won. The Steelers put it together somehow and got the dub, right? Excuse me. We've been recording a lot today. It was a fantastic. I was really pulling for the Jets. Big Aaron Glenn, he sold me. He sold me on the press. He sold me in the press conferences. He sold me at the podium. And I like the direction that the Jets are headed. We're dumbfounded on the lack of defense by the Jets. Nobody thought this was the lowest over under as far as the betting odds go. Vegas had this the lowest scoring game of the week, and they had the lowest projected total points in the last 5 years for a season opener. So nobody saw 66 total points coming for sure.
Yeah, no, that was a really fun game to watch. And like I said, I'm Jets are going to get a screen next week because I got to see what happens the following week. That was an offense where it wasn't like, oh my God, it's high flying and it's crazy, but they came out and they did what they wanted to do and they did it how they wanted to do it, right? And so if that's how it's going to go, Brees is going to have a great year, man, and he's going to get himself a bag next year, as the kids would say. He looked great.
And they said, I heard it on a TV at some point. I think it was during the middle of the 4 o'clocks. I think they said to that point, PFF had, the success rate for Justin Fields was the lead in the league. And that's, to that halfway through the 4 o'clocks, everything Justin Fields did was like the decisions he made, success rate per play was best in the league. And of course, the defense gave up 34 points. Justin Fields had nothing to do with that, right?
Yeah.
No interceptions. Don't believe he had a lost fumble. Right. Just he absolutely great, stellar showing from Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And that's all you could ask for the Jets. Of course, you were so close. You could ask for the W, but let's be honest. Nobody really thought the Jets were going to win unless Rodgers came out there and laid a complete egg. It was an explosive from both teams. And it was like a great game. I didn't watch every single play because it was 1 o'clock and it was a lot of inputs. And it was, that week 1, 6-7 games on at a time. I was still getting acclimated. I was like, what's going on here? So this is one that I can't wait to really go back and watch by itself. The condensed version, of course, but those are 35 minutes these days. But great game.
Yeah, it was a really, really, really solid game. All right. Let's shoot over to the other New York team, the other team that shares MetLife. Had a bit rougher of a week. But the backfield situation, again, there was a lot of who's going to be the guy? Is it Scatabo? Is it Tracy? Again, week 1, and nobody necessarily got a lot of attempts, and nobody put up great fantasy points. Nobody was necessarily awesome. But when you look at the numbers, there certainly seems to be some clarity there. Now, I think a quarterback change is going to happen soon, if not this week, maybe next. And that might change a little bit of this. I don't know that it'll necessarily change the deployment, but it might change how effective these guys potentially could be, or some checkdowns, right? From some of these guys. But Tyrone Tracy had 10 attempts, so nothing crazy. I think only 24 yards, but he had 72.6% of the snap share, right? So played a lot. 43.5% of the attempt share. His route participation percentage, the percentage of plays where he ran a route on, 57.8. That was 7th overall. So only 3 targets came of that. He was 8.1 target percentage, but that's a promising number for Tracy for the most part. I wouldn't see it get, a huge change when it's that aggressive week 1. I don't think it's going to come way back down to earth week 2. And, Scatabo only had 2 attempts. Singletary had 3 attempts, right? So those guys were kind of mixing in on the back end. Route participation for Singletary was 13.3%, for 6.7% for Scatabo, right? So those guys weren't out there a whole lot. 0% target share for Singletary, 2 targets, so 5.4% target share for Scatabo there. Scatabo had an 11.3% snap percentage and an 8.7% attempt percentage. And Singletary had a 16.1% snap percentage and a 13% attempt percentage. So those guys are seemingly battling it out for. Also, Scadabo's coming back from a little bit of an injury later or mid camp. Also a rookie. So, but moving forward, if the Giants could just get an offense that semi-functions, Tracy looks very, very usable. I wouldn't put any of these guys in my lineup next week if I don't have to. But Tracy seems like he could get you something if you need him. And it should be better next week, via these numbers. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, they got beat up, right? The Commanders are a really good team. Commanders were the surprise team of the season last year, and they started back the way they should. Even the way, all we heard about all offseason was how good the Giants' defensive line was going to be. Jaden Daniels handled it. He didn't crush it through the air, but he handled it. And the Redskins and Washington crushed the Giants. They probably got Russell Wilson benched, even though I just saw that Daboll says that he's going to start next week, much to chagrin to everybody involved except for Wilson. He's the only person excited about that, right? So, yes, the running backs did much of nothing, but they leaned on Tracy hot and heavy. So that's really what you're going to hang your hat on. I perfectly said, get them out of your lineup for now. It should be better because they got manhandled. But again, we talked about it this morning. Terrible schedule for the Giants coming up. And, how quickly a team's, even just on one side of the ball, just like completely can be like, oh, man, this is horrible. Heads can get hung. People go down to hands on some knees real quick. Like we're just like Russell Wilson can lose a locker room fast these days. Yeah. So I don't like it. And they're just, nothing you can do but try to get out of the way of the Giants. Every Giant needs to be benched you got except for Neighbors. And if you're YOLO and maybe a Wandale Robinson fourth flex kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wandale could be potentially startable if you need him.
The Chiefs looking for last thing. The Chiefs looking for a get right game next week. Of course the Giants have a good D line, but outside of that,
Giants have the Cowboys.
I thought it just said the Chiefs. My bad. Chiefs third week. Yeah. So the Giants hit Cowboys this week, and then they got the Chiefs and the Chargers coming up. So not great, but yeah, I guess against the Cowboys without Micah Parsons, but Kenny Clark in there plugging up the middle. His second game, an all-pro defensive tackle hits in there against these running backs. Again, just wait and see. You could do worse. Plug in Tyrone Tracy in. He could break a big one at any time. He could catch some check downs when they go back to the map this week and say, hey, you could do worse than having to plug him in for a running back, especially as already injuries going around. That's how the NFL works. So,
yeah, I don't necessarily want to. If I had to, I certainly could because these numbers are semi-promising. So if they could just show some life on offense, I think Tracy could have a nice little bounce back in week 2 if you really need him. But I'd like to see that happen. Like to see some life. It does stink that you're then going and playing Kansas City. Then I believe week 3. You are correct, I think. Another good run defense.
Chiefs Chargers back to back after this week.
Yeah. So tough sledding for the Giants ahead. Hopefully they keep their rookie quarterback out of that mess, at least for a little bit. All right, let's look at the stay in division. Let's go to the Commanders here. Didn't have to run it a whole lot. Didn't have to do a whole lot. I mean, we say that they crushed them. When you look at the scoreboard, it doesn't necessarily, it looked like they were kind of hanging around for a minute, but when you were watching, there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
It was all smiles on the Commanders side and
that's
a lot of head shaking.
It was never threatening. Threatening.
Right. But we got Eckler, who's banged up a little bit this week. He had 6 attempts, 18.8% snap share, 18.8% attempt share, and then 47.7 snap percentage there. Route participation really high, 45.9% there, and then 10% target share there. So 3 targets only there, but still was out there a lot. Now, Bill came in, got the attempts, looked good with those attempts, was the leading rusher on the team. He had 10 attempts, 31.3 attempt percentage. His snap percentage was right around 29.2. Route participation a little low there with 13.5, only 1 target, and his target percentage 3.3. And then McNichols was in there doing some stuff, but I don't think you have to worry terribly about McNichols. If Eckler can't go next week, I would assume Chris C-Rod is available. But I mean, Bill seemingly is going to be the guy that you want to start
100%
rather quickly here for the Commanders.
Oh yeah, he's in my lineup. If he's on my team, of course, in a dynasty setting, you probably have other running backs ahead of him. You probably just picked him up for very cheap, depending on if you had a rookie draft late. He was obviously much more expensive in the last couple of weeks, but you could do a lot worse than having to plug in Bill Merritt in your lineup this week next. Coming up.
Croskey-Merritt is Bill, if you're not familiar. Now they do have the Packers on a short week. Big injury report for the Packers, and Eckler already banged up. Could be huge for Bill this week. Could have runway cleared and ready for takeoff potentially, but did well in this last game here. 82 rushing yards for him. So.
Yeah, 82 and a touch, man. I mean, obviously touchdowns are fluky, but that's why I was high on Brian Robinson early in the offseason, because I want the running back for the Commanders. And Eckler's still around, and I know he's really, really good NFL football player, but Merritt came in and his juice took over, and like the ability for him to hit the hole with speed just adds another dynamic to the football team, and they got a bunch of dynamics, right? It's a really good team because you have a dynamic quarterback, and you got Terry McLaurin, and now you add in Debo, and there's a lot to add in. There's a lot for the defense to pay attention to, and you got a fast running back who's got some spunk to his game, and that makes it tougher on the defense. And we saw that show up in week 1 for Jacory Croskey-Merritt. That's all you can ask after all the hype. And, this 5'11", 208, quick, hard to tackle running back that, didn't play last year in college because he was suspended or ineligible or whatever, how that played out. This man came up and showed up big in week 1 of the NFL. And that's for everybody that made those waiver claims and staked your flag in the rookie drafts, paid off this week.
Yeah. Staying in division, we're going to throw a couple more things out there and we'll get out of here. I mean, Dallas came in with, we weren't really sure, but Javonte seemed like he was going to be the guy, and damned if it wasn't Javonte. He had the 3rd highest routes run per team dropback. So that's the route percentage that we've been talking about at 71.4%, right? They played Philly last week, obviously a good defense. They were missing their best defensive player, or at least their best defensive lineman currently, and Jalen Carter from, a terrible start for them in that situation. But he's got the Giants this week. He should catch some more balls this week. He should probably have a little bit easier. Now, the Giants do have a good front. If they can keep those guys engaged and not upset that everything's going so poorly around them and their pets' heads are falling off. And, Javonte is very interesting. He's seeming like he's going to be the lead dog. I don't think there's really any questions over there at this point. Javonte is going to be the guy that carries them through probably the majority of this season, right?
Most likely. I mean, obviously after week 1,
what Jaden Beluga can do.
Right. He comes on strong, but he definitely didn't show up in week 1, which is not necessarily unheard of at all.
He's been hurt.
But that happens to rookies all the time. I think that Javonte showed well, and in the offseason, all we asked for was for somebody to say who's really the guy, right? Mm-hmm. Because in a Dallas offense, and as long as Dak's healthy, and you bring in Pickens too, like Dak and CeeDee Lamb showed you against a good Eagles defense, the only thing they were missing last year to start the season was the chemistry, because CeeDee Lamb was holding out to get a contract. And the Cowboys obviously have fumbled the bag on the whole contract situation for half a decade running now, and probably more than that, but it's really, really, recent, and a couple of big storylines here for them the last couple off seasons, and that's what Jerry Jones wants. Well, this year it wasn't CeeDee Lamb and Dak's problem, so they were crushing it, and they came out hot and heavy, and Pickens did more of the clear out, watch out, this guy can take us deep, we got to keep somebody back, and CeeDee Lamb just ate underneath. I will say that I think that if you've told the Dallas Cowboys that Jalen Carter wasn't going to be there, they could have planned out a little bit more situation. The game plan might would have read a little something like this. Hey, if it's 2nd and 2, we're going to go heavy, play action, try it to Pickens. right?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to game plan around Jalen Carter is the idea. Best interior lineman in the league is just Aaron Donald retiring early basically handed that notion to Carter. I mean, he took it. Don't get me wrong. He's really, really good. And so him being out would have, if he would have been ruled out, 2 days prior, I guarantee you there would have been more shot plays drawn up to Pickens, but they didn't have any idea that was happening until right before they snapped the ball. And so I think there was a lot of clear out plays and a lot of volume to Lamb drawn up in the playbook. And we want that. Everybody wants volume to Lamb, and the Cowboys do, and Dak wants it as well. But I think there'll be a little bit more pick and the play action. I mean, the foul against Pickens, the pass interference, right there, he had him, and Pickens had a step, and he still, in true Pickens fashion, still almost caught it with a guy, draped all over him.
Right.
And it could have been, I'm not saying it would, he was a couple yards short of the touchdown. I'm not saying he would have caught it and still got in. They were tripping each other and they were about to fall down, but like there was plays to be had out there. And of course the guy was hanging all over him, but better days ahead of Pickens, and I'm not worried about Pickens at all.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see what Javonte can do for the rest of the season as well. Really not too much else I want to touch on here. It's week 1. We wanted to talk about some backfield situations. Chiefs came in, had Pacheco and Hunt on, route percentage per drop back was fairly even. Rashard Smith got in there a little bit, and then, attempts were pretty close, and then 25 yards and 16 yards between Hunt and Pacheco. They got the Eagles this week. Carter should be back. I think I'm staying away. I don't think I want to play Pacheco this week. Pacheco looked good. Like he looked back to his normal, like hair on fire self, but I didn't love the game plan of the shuffling of the running backs here for Kansas City.
Yeah. 2 tough games. I mean, Chargers are legit, obviously. Yeah. And they best scoring defense in the league last year. I didn't realize that until they were pacing all over the screen right when that game started against the Chiefs. So yeah, you start with the Eagles and you start with the Chargers and then you hit the Eagles. So scheduling didn't do the Chiefs any favors this year, which, they have to play big games to start the season because they've been playing the big games to end the season every single year. So it's not like they're not used to it, but 0-1 with a real good chance of going 0-2. So a fancy game coming up for the Eagles who could have lost and the Chiefs who did lose. So a fantastic week 2 matchup here. And yeah, I could definitely stay away from the Chiefs running backs. Of course, if you got Pacheco and you have to start him, it is what it is. But if you have a couple other options,
Tyron Tracy or Pacheco week 2.
Yeah, right. Probably Pacheco, but who knows?
I'm going Tracy, baby. Yeah, I mean, it's a much tougher matchup, I feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that split was aggressive. Too much Hunt for my liking. Give me some more Pacheco. Anything else you want to hit on before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think. I mean, Hunt's a part of the game plan. Obviously, I think if the Chiefs plan to be leading more often and be able to give it to Pacheco a little more often.
Yeah, that's not going to be this game, though, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Good fade of the Chiefs running backs this week coming up. And we'll see what happens in week 2. Hit you back.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back week 2. We're going to talk a lot of market kind of watch stuff moving forward, but didn't feel appropriate on week 1. Like what's the market right now? We just wanted to kind of talk about some, backfields that maybe we feel a little bit more like we've got some clarity on. What do we know? Probably nothing. Probably by week 4, there'll be a whole lot of different information and different things that go on. Catch us tomorrow. We'll have another show out for you. Me and Joseph from Quality Stats are going to be throwing nice stats you need to know show out there every single week. Then we got another live show on Wednesday. We have the live show on Monday at 11. So lots of good stuff from the FFD. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere. FFD Fantasy for the redraft stuff. Chev's crushing it over there. Obviously, this is the channel. FFD Radio puts everything we got in one spot for the podcasts. So make sure you check that out. And again, live on Mondays at 11 doing football recap. Wednesdays, we're going to be live doing some football talk. And then Dynasty shows Monday night, Tuesday night coming out for your pleasure. And then Chev's got you covered on the redraft side of things all week long. So make sure you check that out. And then Chev is live on the redraft channel Sunday morning up to kickoff with some injury updates and some sit-start stuff. So make sure you check that out over there on the FFD Fantasy. All right, Big Co. See you next week. Tough week. I'm out next week. I got my 22nd annual golf trip with my dad, so I'm looking forward to it. But as
I wish it was week 3, right? Week 2 is when all the changes get made. I'm going to be working from behind and working hard to catch up next week.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll catch you later. Peace.